Welcome back to All the Gear. Today on All the Gear, we're going to build this. This is a vehicle-mounted, pressurized hot water storage solution. In this video, I'm going to show you how to assemble, mount, and operate 3 distinct ways of pressurizing a vessel like this, including using town water pressure, a 12-volt or battery-powered tire inflator, or CO2 gas cartridges, usually utilized by the homebrew industry for pressurizing kegs, applied to the pressurization of your hot water vehicle mounted pressurized storage system. Okay, so I'm going to go through the things you need as we build. I'll leave a list in the description and some links where you can purchase some of the required parts. Okay, so for the roof brackets, the best solution that I could find was a pre-made bracket solution from Kinetic that allows you to bolt on a pipe of your size choosing to a roof rack or another flat surface. I bought a pack of 3 of them and it's about 70 bucks. You could obviously fabricate something out of a piece of wood and metal strapping, but I like the look of this. It's going to be seen for the rest of the vehicle's life, and I wanted to do it properly the first time. They come in 2 pieces and they just mount with some bolts, so you just have to drill some bolt holes and then bolt them on. It comes with some Nylock washers, but you will need a couple extra or some spring washers if you're not using the Nylocks. Now obviously you want to make sure that the brackets are mounted in a place where you have enough clearance for whatever is around the pipe. With the setup that I've got with the rooftop tent, a 270-degree awning, as well as the doors opening and closing, I had a certain window to work within because the ladder mounts against that side, which I can't change because of the awning, which also swings around the back, and I needed that to miss the water storage as well. So I'm working within a very confined area for this build. So the pipe will come in 6-meter lengths. You can buy shorter lengths, but I had 6 meters laying around because I do a lot of hydroponics. So I actually cut down the 6-meter length to 2.3 meters, and it will be longer than that because of the extra pipe sections we'll be adding. A 100-millimeter pipe gives you 7.85 liters per meter. This is a 2.3 meter pipe section with the ends acting as a little bit extra. So I've got a bit over 20 liters of water storage in this pipe system. Okay, so for this pipe assembly, you're going to want 4 different parts, essentially. We want a Y-shaped assembly with 2 screw ends, and we want a T-shaped assembly with 2 screw ends as well. The product's numbers will be in the description, and we're gonna need end caps with seals as well for the ends of those pipes. To glue it all together, because we're actually going to be using the high pressure nature of the pipe, we're gonna use a high pressure glue. There's a primer that you use first, which is pink. You rub that around the pipe and you just glue the internal of the pipe that overlaps and let it set, at which point your pipe will look like this. So the spray paint that I used is an ultra matte black spray paint, and the reason we want to use a matte black spray paint is we want to absorb as much light as possible, as much of the sun's radiation, absorb that through into our water so that we have a hot water storage. This will heat up in the sun and will also help pressurize it by causing the air in it to expand, even when you haven't used the methods that we're going to be talking about in a second to pressurize it. This was specifically a plastic paint, so you do need paint that will adhere to plastic. We're just going to do a couple of coats of this paint with all of the screw caps on. We're not painting them separately because we want the threads of those screw caps to just be plastic on plastic without paint. And once that's dry, we can go ahead and mount it, making sure that everything is appropriately in place. And we are looking good now. Okay, so for this next step, you're gonna need a step drill. So unscrew those end caps, and you can see the thread is completely virgin plastic, which is good. Okay, for this next step, we will be using a tap. This is a stainless steel ball valve tap. with a hose connection. Both of these parts are available on the Hydroland website as well. I'll be using 3 of these, one for each end and one as a release valve at the top. And finally, and probably the most specialized piece of kit for this whole build, this is an air-water tractor tire valve. This allows tractors to use air as well as water in their tires. It just has a standard tire valve in it, but it will seal for air and water. Now, we don't particularly need to seal for water because it's going on the top. There are valves on Amazon that aren't specifically air and water valves that you can use as well. But this was the one that they had at the Repco, at the auto spares place that I went to, and I'm quite happy that they did. It's actually perfect for what I need. This is going to allow us to utilize an air compressor, which has a tire inflator, to pressurize our tank. So to attach these to our tank, we're actually going to install them on the lids, because the lids will be interchangeable and we can have taps fitted wherever we like on our tank. And they'll just be able to be unscrewed and moved around in whatever configuration you like. So we're just going to drill out the holes on our caps to the diameter of your taps and your valve assembly. This one is going to be both a tap and a valve assembly, so it's going to need 2 holes in it. There's our cap with our holes. If you've made them perfect, this will just screw into place, and we can lock it off afterwards as well. There's our tap. There's our valve, and that will just fit through. And because this rubber is actually slightly too thick, I'm just gonna have to take the edge off that rubber. So I'm just running a knife around the edge of this rubber. Perfect. And now it creates a perfect flush seal, which we can, like so. Not bad. And you would just repeat that as many times as you needed for as many of the end caps as you need. And that'll give you a more modular end product that you can work with as well. So now let's explore ways of charging our system with pressure. Let me blow your mind for just 1 second. This is a CO2 cartridge bike tire pump. They're also used in the homebrew industry for charging 20-litre kegs. 20 litres, by the way, is the exact volume of our cylinder. The way that these work is you insert a CO2 charge cartridge by unscrewing the guard, screwing in the cartridge, like so, replacing the guard, and here you have a charged CO2 cylinder, allowing you to pressurize whatever you like. You can see where I'm going here. Utilizing these cheap CO2 canisters to charge our water supply gives us a portable, practical, and affordable way of pressurizing our tank. It also charges the tank extremely fast. So let's put it into practice. Okay, so we can put our caps back on. The one with the valve goes at the top, like so. Make sure they're on tight. Tap goes at the bottom, like so. Okay, so a quick disclaimer, pressurizing this to any pressure can be dangerous. So I'd actually recommend the last method I'm gonna use, utilizing a 12-volt compressor, not to pressurize the container so much as to push the water out of the container. The 2 methods that we're about to cover actually put pressure into this cylinder, which can cause the cylinder to catastrophically fail. So just be careful, and ideally you should add in a pressure release valve that releases the pressure over a certain PSI, whatever your piping is rated to. And I will install one on this system because when this pipe heats up, the air inside can expand and cause the PSI that you have in the pipe to raise. So a pressure release valve is ideal. So when not in use, always release the pressure that's within the system. Now to fill it up with water, open our ball valves, both of them. This is going to let the air out at the other end. The water pressure you can achieve though is created by the air pressure within the cylinder. So the more air gap you have and the more pressure you have in that air gap, the more pressure you will have. So if you only leave a small amount of air, the pressure won't last very long, the pressure that you have in the cylinder. But that's where our charged cylinder comes in, because we can just attach our charged cylinder to our valve, and as the pressure reduces, we just charge it again. But there are other ways to charge this cylinder. The first way is by just using the mains water pressure or pump water pressure that you've got at home. For me, this means that I'll have pressure something along the lines of, give it a second, this. It's not much, but this is my pump pressure. It's actually pretty good for a house pump. So all I have to do is connect up my hose. So I'll just turn this on and it will start to fill up the tank. When I think it's about half full, I turn off the tap, and that is when the air pressure starts building because the water being forced in. The strength of the flow is going to depend on the water pressure at your house. And you can hear that the pressure is building up from the pump pumping in and compressing the air if I let this ball valve go. Pretty cool. So I'm just going to make up a short section of hose to show you how this pressure functions. Okay, so I'm going to connect up my hose, turn on the ball valve. Oh, we are pressurized. And wow, that's actually more pressure than my pump. Holy. That is incredible. Are you seeing this? Alright, how long does it last? I guess I'll time it with the video. But like, if you wanted a shower, you don't have to let it go this fast, because you could have it like this. I mean, that's incredible. I wonder what the PSI was up to. There we go. All right, that was a really good first run. And that was just from pressurizing with my house pump, which isn't usually even that strong. I guess it just is able to work it up to a higher pressure. Now, obviously the other way you can use this is gravity. So this is gravity. So without any pressure being added at all. And also, as this heats up, the air gap inside will pressurize itself. If you are using gravity, you would open the top tap so that the air is allowed to be sucked in and evacuate the gap. And then you can just turn on your tap and you just have gravity pressure from whatever height the hose is at. The other way to pressurize this is by utilizing a battery operated or 12-volt tire inflation pump, which you can just attach to the top tire nipple. We can close off our valves, program in the PSI that you want for this Jesus, for this pipe system. All right, let's try that with that is working absolutely fine. So the way that this works is I'll undo the end, and because I'm above the pipe, there's no water coming out, but if I lower it, it comes out, and raise it. I'll turn on our pump and we should start, there we go, there is the water flow, and we can restrict it, and there is our pump creating pressure to power our shower or our hose, whatever implementation you have for this. That works so well. I'm actually really impressed. But I will say, just make sure that there is enough air in here to compress, because if you have a small amount of air, this is going to compress really bloody fast, because you don't want to overpressurize this and blow an end. I'll depressurize it. What I might add in the future is I wouldn't mind having a pressure gauge on this just to see what pressure I'm at so that I can gauge when to stop pressurizing the cylinder. That would be ideal, really. And to fill this up without any pressure in it so that you know you've got maximum volume, you just open the tap at this end and the whole vessel fills up, and then you'll actually have water just pouring out of the tap. This is a good way to gauge how much is in there. When it's full, you can just empty maybe like 5 liters into a bucket, and then you know exactly how much air gap you have in the system. All right, well, I hope you have enjoyed this episode of All the Gear. I hope I have inspired some new ideas. Happy camping, and I will see you next time on All the Gear. We're almost out of pressure here.